Okay, well, I'm so excited to have all of you guys here today and so excited to hear and see your goals. Let me just rearrange my screen just a little minute so that I can see and make sure that I am sharing everything okay with you. So before we get started, I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about me. I know lots of these faces, which is fun. So just bear with me and pretend like you don't know me, or just, plug your ears or something like that. But I have been married for 22 years. I'm married to a very career-driven husband, and I am the mom of 3 teenage daughters. Back in a long time ago life, I received my master's of special education when I was pregnant with my second child, who is now 17, while I was also supporting my husband through PA school. In 2018, I certified as a life coach while I also taught special education. And during that time when I grew my business and taught school, I also served as the president of my church's women's organization. And the only reason I tell you guys all of that is just to let you know that I too, like you guys here on this call, know what it's like to possibly feel busy, know what it's like to have other roles and other career goals and have work jobs and know what it's like to be a wife and a mother, and also have a desire to be successful in other goals and maybe even successful in business. So what I get to do every day is have the opportunity to help very successful women in business discover their priorities, their plans. I really help them create simple schedules and goals so that we can strategize their business and their motherhood to allow them to have the growth that they truly want in their business. It's very different for everyone, and that is what I like to help everyone discover, is what their business goals and strategies are going to look like for them. And one of the ways that we do that is really uncover our priorities and discover what those are for them. But that is a topic for another day. So let's get started on the topic that we are going to talk about today. If you have your worksheets, I'll just kind of be referencing them during this time, but sorry, it is not letting me screen share. There we go. I will be referencing them, but after you spend time with me, then I really encourage you to go through those and look at that. And to really spend some time thinking about what we're going to talk about today. So just give me a minute. I'm going to rearrange my schedules, rearrange my board so that I can see everything that I need to see, and I can see your cute faces. Sometimes when you screen share, those faces get away from you. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is why we are setting goals. Okay, before I'm going to share with you the steps of setting goals, I want us to understand why. And if you are setting goals from, and this is a lot of times what we think is like that we should, right? It's a new year, we should set goals. Lots of times you may think it's what successful business owners or successful moms, or you fill in your blank, right? What they do. And so we're like, that's why we should set goals. We might think because we're tired of being lazy, or we're tired of being unorganized, or not hitting the mark, or just whatever, right? And that you think solving those goals are what's going to help you stop being so, and then whatever you define yourself in. I hear the word a hot mess all the time. So you're tired of being a hot mess, you're going to set goals for that. Lots of times we decide we're going to set goals because we're afraid of what might happen if we don't. And so fill in the blank. Lots of times when I'm working with clients that maybe want to lose weight, they'll say, I'm afraid that I will, and then lose my energy and not be able to play with my grandkids, or I'm afraid that I might get diabetes or something like that. And so that is what we're afraid of. And so then we want to fill in the blank and set a goal from there. But what I want to share with you guys is those are the wrong reasons to set a goal, right? Before we even go over our steps, I want us to make sure that we're clear on why we're setting goals, right? So if you're setting goals from others' expectations, right? Like you should, right? Like people say we should, or it's 2020, or they say, right? Good moms, good business owners, good whatever, that's why you do it. Right? If you're setting a goal from fear, right? And that's kind of what I was talking about with like maybe having like, I'm afraid this will happen if I don't do this. Or those thoughts of, like I said, lots of times I hear from my clients that they say they're a hot mess. So they have this kind of inadequacy story that they feel. So if you're setting a goal from the feelings of not being good enough, or from just being inadequate, those are not the reasons you want to be setting goals, right? We want to be making sure that we are setting goals from love, right? And what we're going to do today is really help you fall in love with the process and who you're going to become, and really be really clear on these goals. So the way to fall in love with your goals, right? When we are setting them from love, right? When they're not from fear and inadequacy, right? If you have a love for like your business or your family or your self-development or whatever the area is, you want to set that goal so that you can then be able to help more people in some way, right? Love for yourself, right? Like if you set a personal development goal, if you set a health goal, it's because you want the best, right? You want to be the best version of you. You want to set them when you can already be in love with the process, and that's what we're going to cover today, and the person that you are when you set the goal, right? So when you're setting that goal, you're already in love with like, this is what's going to happen from that goal, and we already are excited about that goal. That's when we know we're onto something. So now that we know where, right, we should set goals from, like the mindset and the thoughts that we have it, what is the purpose? Like, why are we even setting goals? Why is that a thing, right? Why do people like, oh, it's the new year, we should set goals? So what they say, which is not a bad thing, right? What we're told is to find out what we're capable of, right? That's why we set goals, to stretch us and to accomplish new things. Lots of times just to inspire and to motivate us. And then for me, I just have to set goals to remind me, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do, right? To keep me on track, to help me know what I'm supposed to do. And those are all very valid. Those are all amazing reasons, but I want to share with you what I believe is a little bit more of an impactful reason of why we are setting goals. Okay. I wanted to, I'll start this out by just saying where I set goals is to develop a new skill, to create new ideas, okay, to foster new learning, and to try things I haven't thought of before. So prior to becoming a special education, or prior to becoming a coach, I was a special education teacher. And in the special education world, every student has what we call an IEP. And an IEP is an individualized educational plan. And in part of that plan, it's a legal document, but part of that plan has goals that the students are hopefully, right, expected to achieve. And it keeps the students accountable, and it keeps the teachers and the caregivers of that student responsible for these goals. But what I noticed is when a student wasn't reaching their goal, that's when I became creative. That's when I tried to find new ways that I hadn't thought of before to like reach them, right? Some of my favorite classroom games, some of my favorite teaching concepts and ideas, some of like the coveted learning activities that my students asked to play and do all the time were created because that student wasn't reaching their goal. You know, like something that I was trying to do with them, I was not doing it in a way that was really helping them. And so that's when I create, right? That's when I fostered new learning. That's when I created new ideas. That's when I tried things I hadn't thought of before. And in fact, I had a third grader that couldn't spell simple CVC words. And if you're not familiar, a CVC word is like a consonant, vowel, consonant. So cat, dog, map, hat, things like that, right? 3-letter words. And for months and months, we went over these same words over and over and over again. And this student could just not catch on and remember these words. And he would even say, have I had this before? Have I had this word before? So I came up with the crazy idea, and I know it's going to not make sense, but to teach the student the alphabet in sign language. And of course, this child had lots of learning problems, very smart IQ, but a specific learning disability. And so that wouldn't make sense. Like they're not getting this regular traditional third grade classroom stuff, and you're going to go teach them sign language. But what I did, guys, is I taught him sign language in 2 days. This student was able to pick up the whole entire alphabet in 2 days on Monday and Tuesday. And that Friday, that student received 100% on their spelling test, all because they were not reaching their goals in the way that we expected or the way that I was teaching them. And so I came up with a new way to allow them to reach their goals. And so that's where I like to set goals from, is when we're not achieving them. It allows us then to be like, okay, what else can I do? What else can I try? What's a new creative idea? So in my business, there are things that I've done when I haven't reached my goals, that I've created new actions. I've created new feelings and new thoughts. And those are things that I do now automatically, right? Those become the coveted things that I do inside of my business. And it's all because we didn't reach our goal. So lots of times we think we set goals to reach them, which is true. But we also can set goals because of the things we can learn and the power that happens when we are not creating goals, or when we're not reaching them, but we create new ideas and try new things. All right, so before I get going with the 5 goal phases, I wanted to just stop and see if you guys had any questions. right? And also if you have any questions during the presentation, I really encourage you to either raise your hand, and Jacqueline is on here so that she can interrupt and allow you to ask your question. You can type them into the chat, but whatever you want, I want you to get the most out of this. So if you're a quiet, passive learner and just want to learn, I invite you to do that. If you're someone that really wants to ask questions, and that's why you're here, right, is to be able to have that opportunity to talk and ask those questions. So I really encourage you to do that. So, and get the most out of this and make it as interactive as you guys want it to be for yourself. All right. So I am a huge fan of alliterations. And so I created 5 phases of a goal. So when we are creating our goal, these are the 5 phases, and we're just going to go through them one by one a little bit today. And again, I want you to ask questions if you have any. The worksheets that you have will also walk you through this. And allow you to just kind of really have more detail than we talked today about what these mean. So these are our 5 phases: the passion, the priority and purpose, the picture it, the planning, and then the power phase. So let's go through those one by one. So the passion phase, right? What you're going to do in this phase, and again, your worksheet walks you through this, but you're going to write down everything that you would consider doing in your business or your life or your motherhood, right? Whatever area of goal, whatever area you want to work on, and you can take this worksheet and fill it out for different areas, right, of your life and different priority areas where you want to set your goals from. And then write down everything that would be considered exciting for either this quarter or this year, right? So just notice that even though it's like a new year, and sometimes we set goals for the year, but you can set quarterly goals. You can even set monthly goals or weekly goals this way. So kind of tap into yourself and figure out what is a good goal setting range for you, right? Do you feel really comfortable, and can you kind of grasp that quarter concept? Then set quarterly goals. If you are of a big picture and kind of setting a goal far off, and then like this will walk you through what it looks like to take the steps to get there. If that's really what excites you, then do that. So write down all of the things that you would like to consider doing to help you reach the goal that you want to do. And then once you run out of ideas, I want you to go through and circle all of the items that you think would be like the most impactful, right, for the area of goal that you set, or that would be really important opportunities, right? So just kind of go through and circle, okay, impactful or important. And then next, I want you to go through and I want you to highlight the items that feel exciting, the items that light you up, right? I want you to highlight those kind of things, and don't let your brain be like, yeah, but that would be hard, or that would be, don't let the brain get in the process of kind of like telling you that you wouldn't or would want to do something. What I want you to do is just like, does it sound exciting? I want you to do that. Then when you figure out your worksheet, or when you're on your worksheet, there are items on your list. If they're both circled and both highlighted, those are then the items you would write down on your worksheet. Right. And just then as you do that, you can kind of have this list, the comprehensive list of things that are exciting to you, things that really you feel like would be needle movers in your goals and most impactful. And then I want you just to pick one. And then that's what we're going to do through the worksheet, is explore one of those ideas. So passion phase, kind of like your brainstorm, right? What are you passionate about? What sounds exciting? Then the next thing you're going to do is what I call the priorities and the purpose phase. Okay. So priority phase is like, you might want to ask yourself some questions like, what priority does this goal enhance, or does it support your priorities, right? So assuming that you kind of know your top 5 priorities, and if you don't, maybe kind of list them out for you. Usually they're in the areas, they're different for everyone, but maybe like health, wealth, relationship, businesses, maybe spirituality, service. Some of those areas are what people find to be priorities. So does the goal support your priorities? Does it enhance it, right? What is the purpose of working towards this goal, right? So if you set this goal, what is that purpose? What do you hope is going to happen from that goal? So for example, if health is a priority, how does this goal support greater health, right? You just kind of want to check in, like, I want health to be a priority. I want to set this goal. So how is that health how is setting that goal going to support your health? If your business or your relationships with your children or your priority, like, are your priorities, then how does the item you wrote down support those priorities, right? So kind of make sure that your goals are supporting and enhancing your priorities. If not, they kind of will end up competing and conflicting. And then that's when we drop something, right? We either drop a goal or maybe we let a priority down. And then either way, as we go to bed at night, we kind of feel like we're not reaching our true capacity or maybe our true potential, because we do feel like there's that emptiness because something isn't happening. So you just really want to make sure that our goals are enhancing our priorities. And then my favorite when we're checking with our priorities and our purpose is, does it support more than one priority? And I like to use the term double dipping when I'm talking about priorities. So let's pretend that health was one of your goals this year, a priority, and you wanted to set the goal for intentional movement. But maybe you also have a goal for connection with your children. And let's pretend like in this double dipping scenario, your children like to hike. So guess what? If you set the goal to hike a certain amount of times a month with your children, then you are actually double dipping a goal and you are double dipping on your priorities, because you're maybe making connection, doing something with your children that they enjoy, as well as getting some of that intentional movement in. So this makes goals, even for me, if you're like me, more fun, because I feel like it's even more efficient because I'm getting more things done, at once, or double dipping, or getting the opportunity to do, like, really tackle two things at once. And then in this phase, you want to make sure, of course, it's checking with your priorities, but the purpose, right? Is this project for you? Like specifically for you, right? Many women that I work with, and I'm sure all the women on this call, you guys are very, very savvy. You're very talented. There are many things that we can try. There are several things that we're good at. And we always have lots of options, but I really want you to take some time to understand why this goal is a good step for you, right? Why this goal is like the next thing that you want to pursue. And then check in with that. Is setting this goal taking you away from a priority, right? Is it enhancing or taking away? So again, the worksheet that you guys are have access to will walk you through a lot of this. I just kind of wanted to give you maybe a different angle and talk about that. But do we have any questions, anything in the chat? Anyone want to raise their hands? Any questions, ideas, anything you want to share? You guys can make this as interactive as you would like. Okay, feel free. I'm going to move on, but feel free to ask them in the chat or to raise your hand. And again, when I screen share, I can't see everyone, so I kind of hate that. But again, we have Jacqueline. So if you guys have questions, please interrupt.
Yeah, right now there's no questions in the chat box. So
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, this next phase, because again, the alliterations of the piece, I'm just going to entitle it the picture it phase. Right. This is where lots of times in the life coaching world, we say, imagine the success ahead of time. Now, there are very many ways that we can do this. And so I want you to tap into yourself and know what this would look like for you. Lots of people can imagine, like in their eyes, mind, they can imagine the goal happening and they can see them doing the steps and coming to fruition. There are some people that can just feel it, like they set a goal and they can just feel like it feels so good. It feels exciting. It's the goal for me. Unfortunately, I'm a little different. I don't have the opportunity or availability to like see things and imagine in my mind's eyes, where I didn't know that everyone got to see things in pictures. I guess not everyone, because not me. But when I'm picturing it, I answer these kinds of questions, maybe on paper, and I write it out. So as you are setting a goal, this is where you have the opportunity to just fall in love with it. But do it in a way that works for you. So for me, answering these types of questions, maybe on paper or in maybe if I'm doing a walk or, running, and just kind of think, what will I have learned if I hit this goal and I set this goal? Some people can actually feel the power of what they've learned. Some people can imagine, right, in their mind's eye. Ask yourself, can you believe, can you see, can you feel, whatever it means, this goal happening, right? You really want to just tap into you creating this goal and you making this goal happen. Because when you can imagine yourself reaching this goal, this is how you fall in love with your goals, right? It really becomes real. It's during this phase where you can imagine or picture or write about it or just get excited about it or whatever that looks like for you. It's during this phase that this goal really starts to have like a richness to it. It really starts to have a substance to it. Lots of times you say, I'm going to have this goal to lose 10 pounds, just because that's what people like, they say it, right? Or to make X amount of money in my business, because it's just like this arbitrary goal that you hear a lot. But it's no longer arbitrary when you can really picture you however that looks for you, whatever that step looks like for you, it no longer becomes an arbitrary goal because you are already starting to be excited. You are starting to feel stepping into or becoming that person that is setting that goal and that person that's going to reach that goal. Here's like my little warning to this is that if you aren't super excited to tackle this goal after you've kind of pictured it and you've imagined it, or, you know, whatever that looks like for you, if you don't really feel like excitement, if you don't really feel like it's going to be fun, then I want you to possibly stop and take some time to ponder why, right? You might want to ask yourself some things like, is this goal for you right now, right? It might be a great goal, but maybe it's just not the time right now, right? Is this goal truly supporting us a priority? We've kind of checked it out at the other phase prior to that, but is it truly supporting a priority? And sometimes it might be, but we are afraid that it's going to take away from, and so maybe that's why we're not excited about it, right? But if it truly supports a priority, and if the goal is for you, and you can answer yes, but you still have some kind of hesitation, there might be some kind of block, right? This is what we may see. You might have some kind of a mindset shift that needs to happen, a belief that needs to change. You might have something inside of you that is making it sound like, okay, this is going to be too hard. I don't know how I'm going to do this, right? There's going to be something inside of you that may believe that you can't reach it, right? Is there maybe some part of you that is afraid that it's going to take too much time, or that's going to take you away from some obligations or your family, right? Are you nervous to fail? Right? That might keep you from being super excited about this picture at face, right? And lots of times when I work with women, they're afraid of what others may think if they achieve this goal, right? They're afraid of what may happen if they're that successful, or who they're going to have to be or become if they're that way, right? So if those are the types of blocks, just take some time to answer those questions for you. That's when you might be able to benefit going a little bit deeper inside of yourself and asking you, are you afraid of this goal in some way? Or why are you afraid of setting this goal? Are you nervous about it? Do you think it's too hard? Again, what are people going to think about you? So just kind of taking inventory of what's blocking you from believing that you can reach this goal. Right? And so if you have this and you can picture it and it still feels exciting, then you know you're great. If it's losing its lack and its luster, maybe we're getting what we call the weeds of it, and we're getting too consumed by our fears, what other people are going to think about us, or that it's taking away from our priorities. So just kind of tap in, and I call it as kind of being honest with ourselves, is knowing like, what are we afraid of for this goal to happen? And if we weren't afraid of that, would we be excited about the goal? Then maybe we're just willing to still go for it. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick drink. I was sick not very long ago, and my voice is still not recovered well, and my throat is dry. So use this time to either imagine yourself picturing it or asking some questions, raising your hand. Are you guys able and excited to do this phase? And have you done this phase? And what does it look like for you? I'd love to hear in the chat too. Like, are you someone that can feel you stepping into the goal? Can you see it and imagine it happening? Are you more of a thinker? I'm always interested in learning about how other people do that because I didn't know that was a thing. All right, our next step is what we're going to call the planning goal. And again, feel free to chat in the box or to ask, and I can stop at any time. But our planning phase is also known as what I call uncovering the obstacles, both our mindset or maybe our physical limitations, and allowing us to create awareness and develop a strategy to achieve the goal, right? So this isn't like that doomsday obstacle, like, oh, this is going to happen and this, and everything's going to be horrible. It's going to all ruin, right? It's not like that doomsday. It's just really understanding what our obstacles are. And I really feel like taking the time to identify those obstacles and create strategies to overcome them is the step that's often missed or glossed over when we are working towards our goals. And I feel like it's really important. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time. But for example, I was working with someone not very long ago, and they were setting the goal to go to the gym 5 days a week. And because I asked previously, what obstacle do you think is going to happen? What's going to get in the way or keeping you from being able to obtain that five day a week gym goal, right? And normally we just set the goal and we're like, oh, it's only going to happen. And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, we realize we didn't do it. And we're just like, oh, there you go. I failed my goal. But when you're kind of proactive, you can just say like, what would keep me from doing this? And when I was walking my client through this, what we discovered is that the gym was 30 minutes away from their home, the gym that they wanted to go to. And so that was an obstacle for them. Right. And so then we just created a strategy, and it could be different for everyone, but the strategy for them was possibly to wake up earlier so that they would have time to get there and know that it wouldn't affect their morning routine or their ability to be where they wanted to be at 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. Go to bed earlier, right? So they're able to wake up earlier. And another one that we ended up actually landing on is maybe the goal to attend the gym 5 days a week right now in their lifetime was going to be a little too much. So they settled on twice a week to attend the gym. And then 3 times a week that they would figure out a way to maybe work from home, like work out from home, get a work from home like membership, or something of that nature, because what they wanted to do more so than going to the gym 5 days a week, it was just having that intentional movement, right? And that intentional like working out type of feeling 5 days a week. So no matter what your goal is, I really encourage you to try to identify the obstacles ahead of time and then come up with strategies ahead of time to set you up for success, right? Because lots of times we just let the obstacles and strategies play out in front of us, and then we don't do the goal. And then, like I said, then we feel like we're a failure. We feel like we never stick to our goals. So this isn't like the doomsday, right? Again, it's not meant to be like, what's all, but like, what would keep you that? Oh, it was going to be hard for me to wake up in the morning. Okay, well then let's go to bed earlier. Well, what would keep me from going to bed earlier? Right? Well, I have this, and this to do. Okay, so how can I shift my morning or my nighttime routine, or, just kind of walking through some of those strategies so that we are getting to setting ourselves up for that success. All right, it looks like we do have someone in the chat. Picture it phase. Okay, I tap into the picture phase and feel great and excited, but there are fear. It feels very real, and I get stuck in the weeds of it and start questioning myself if I should even consider this changing careers. The fear of others see me failing is scary. Yes. And so that's when you can that's a really great perspective. So if I'm understanding, she's kind of saying like, it does feel exciting. It does feel the thing, but then that fear, right? So part of this goal is stepping into the new person that we have to become. Right? So you're going to have to become a person that has this new career. How does that feel? Does that be exciting? You're going to have to become that person that on the way to this new career may fail, because we're human and that happens. But this person that's failing is also trying, and that person is okay with watching people or allowing people to see them fail, because that is how then they also allow them to see you in this new career. Right. So it's kind of like thinking, what am I scared of? Why is that scary? And that is where we, in coaching, we call that's like the mindset shift, right? And really tapping into becoming that person that is successful doing that thing. So let me know if you have any other questions or if that helps, but that's really where, when you're getting stuck, it's really asking yourself why. And so right there, that's probably some validity to that. Your goal isn't not the right goal. It might be a really empowering and helpful goal, but there's this little thing, right? These things about worrying about what other people are going to think or failing that is scary. And that's what happens to a lot of us. And so that's why we want to really fall in love with our goal ahead of time, which means you have to just decide, like, these things might happen. I might fail. It may feel yucky and not awesome when I fail, or people may see me and that's scared, but am I willing to be scared and do this anyways? Right? Is this goal mean enough to me that I'm willing to fail or be scared and still make it happen? Okay, the planning phase. And those of you that know me, I love all the phases, but of course I really like planning. So when we identify our obstacles and strategies, then we know we're on track with our goal. And then this kind of like naturally just kind of flows into it. So the planning phase on your worksheet, there's at least like 10 plus questions that can help you identify the obstacles and then create strategies. And so it may be that, like, what do you need to learn or learn more about to help you reach this goal, right? And so those are just some questions that will kind of help you plan through the goal, help you walk through some questions to help you identify the obstacles that you may come up against that you need to create strategies for. Do you anticipate needing to adjust your schedule to make time for this goal? As a lot of times we set goals, but then where are we putting this goal into our day, right? So where are you going to adjust your schedule to make time for this goal? Is there anything you might need to start or stop doing to be able to reach this goal, right? So those are some of the questions that you're going to ask yourself to really identify how you're going to do this goal for you, right? It's going to look different for everyone. So as you think about your goal, the worksheet will have you walk through all the steps and the tasks that you need to do to be able to complete this goal, right? And maybe just brainstorm, and maybe you won't do all of them, but just kind of get them all out there. And lots of times when we're setting a new goal, we don't even know where to start. So you might want to just write down, research where to start, or write down research options of what you can try, right? What don't you know? What do you need to learn? What do you need to research to get there? For example, if your goal like if you're running a business and maybe your goal involves like copywriting, maybe it's like social media posts or any design work or tech, right? You might then ask yourself, what do you need to learn to figure those out? Or who do you need to discover to learn from? Or who could you hire out to do some of those things for you, right? So those sometimes are our first step to our goal, is kind of figuring that out. As you are this planning phase, don't be alarmed. There's a really good chance that it's going to change, right? The things that you think you need to do to reach the goals, the things you need to learn, that's going to change, and be really flexible with this, right? This doesn't mean you're off target with your goal if you're changing your plan, right? You may decide to go to this course or take this class, and then halfway through the class, you're like, this isn't really helping me learn what I need to do. It's okay to pivot and maybe stop taking that class, not because you're not getting it or not because it's not helpful, but maybe it's not giving you what you think you need to do to get to your next step. Right? So just start taking action. And then when you get stuck in your goal or it feels like it's not happening, this list, pull it back out, because this list will help you know what to try next, right? This list will give you those new ideas, that new creative start to do something else, to really like kind of fuel that excitement that you had when you created the goal. I just want you to remember that lots of times we get stuck, or when we do this planning phase, it's going to be a lot of steps. And lots of times then we start to get overwhelmed, like I'm gonna have to do this and this and this and this and this, to reach my goal. This is just to set us up for success. But what we do is don't be overwhelmed with that list. That list is just a really good game plan. It's a set of awesome instructions, and you just need to focus on one step at a time, right? It's kind of like an IKEA thing. I don't know if you've ever put anything from IKEA together, but you pull out the instructions. There's all these instructions and pictures and diagrams and all these parts, and you're just looking, and we just can sometimes get overwhelmed. But all you need to do is pick up your book from the instruction manual, right? Or pick up your planning phase and just read the first thing, right? And it may just say, make sure you have all these parts. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. You don't have to worry about what you're doing with the parts. You don't have to worry about where they're going. You don't have to understand any of that. You just go step by step by step. So don't let this planning phase overwhelm you. And it's going to take quite a bit of time. I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, this is gonna take a long time. Like, this is ridiculous. I don't wanna do all this. But it is, okay, I'm not gonna lie, it does take some time. But what I can promise you is this phase will actually save time, right? It will save you time from failing because you planned out a strategy, right? This will save you time from restarting and stopping, right? Because this is the phase that sets you up for long-term success. So for example, if you go back to like the IKEA thing, if you are in the middle of that and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to start working, and you just do it all together, right? Then maybe you've done it wrong. You have to go back and unscrew stuff and add new things. It's like, really what would have saved you time is really reading the directions, right? And really going through it step by step. And so just notice that it does take a little bit of time to read the instructions, right? And you're creating your instructions, but when we're creating something new, putting pieces together, it does take time, but saving or creating those instructions, reading those instructions are actually going to save you time. So don't skip over this, because like I mentioned, this is the one that I feel like gets, these two together get like glossed over or stepped over, and just go from the goal to the excitement. But how are we going to get there kind of creates this path. And the cool thing is sometimes we can skip a path or go over a bridge and it's going to look differently, but it allows us to stay on track of what we want to do. All right, so when we're done with the planning phase, like I said, your worksheet will walk you through so many different ways to help you kind of plan it for you, for your success, for the way that you like to do your goal. Then what we have is the last phase is our power phase. So in our power phase, this is where you take your steps from your planning phase and you implement them into your schedule and into your workday. Right? This is where you say, okay, the first thing I need to do is figure out who to call to figure out my next step, right? So that is what's going to go on your schedule. So when you powerfully commit to your plans, then you're going to schedule them in your schedule, right? So it's like, learn how to do this thing. Or if it's a health goal, find out what gyms are closer to me. Or maybe it's discover what kind of intentional movement I enjoy. And so then maybe your plan is to go to a Zumba class and maybe go hiking and maybe go swimming and cycling, right? And just explore intentional movements that you enjoy, right? And that's when it becomes kind of fun, right? Because you're like, I'm just getting into this goal to kind of see how I'm going to make it happen. And so when you powerfully commit to putting those things on your schedule, that's when they will happen. And that's when you'll be more likely to achieve your goal, because you actually created time in your schedule and in your day to make that goal happen. Okay. Any questions now? Even particular questions, like you're like, hey, I'm thinking about this goal. This is where I'm stuck. What I do, like any questions you may have, any insights, any ahas, you feel free to say something. Feel free to chat. I'm either seeing some really bored faces or some faces that are thinking really good about, oh, and all of this is just like, I don't even know what to say, because it's simple and impactful, but it's also blowing my mind because I haven't done this phase. And that is,
I have something.
yeah, let's hear
Like
it.
my aha. I know it sounds so simple. Like I'm kind of embarrassed. But when you were talking about making sure that you like, where's the goal going to fit in your schedule? Like, where's the time going to be? Because I mean, one of the goals I have that my husband and I have talked about, we've wanted this for a long time and we've done little micro goals to get there, but it's like just eating in a way that feels better to our family. And so we've been like revving up, getting all the recipes and stuff. And I'm, getting it in order. And we always do like a no eating out in January. We've done it for a couple of years and it's always been really good. And I'm just like, maybe this is why it only sticks to January or February, because I'm not adding it in or taking out something else to create that time. Because it takes time to like really sit down and make a meal. And especially when you're running around to kids stuff at night, like you really have to plan ahead. So I'm like sitting here and I'm like, okay, Siri, I need to plan the time. Like I need to figure out where in my day this is going to take precedence. Like what's going to move out? How much time do I need? What time of day do I really want to make sure that this is like what I'm focused on?
Yeah, I love that. I love that realization. And also like I have people kind of do so similar goals and then like maybe it's eating healthy or whatever that is. And then they're like, wait, I don't even like fruits and vegetables. And so when they realize they don't like fruits and vegetables, if they don't do what Jacqueline just said, like kind of figuring out some recipes, trying new things, trying new vegetables. So maybe every Thursday you try a new vegetable or a new fruit just to see if you really don't like it. Right. So that you are expanding and growing your list of recipes and things that you like, that you're considering healthier. And then that also helps in February and March and April, right? Because it's not exhausting. It's like, oh, I have all these new things I can try, or these new ways to make like asparagus that you hadn't tried before. And if you like asparagus, maybe you'll try that. So just putting in the fun things of like I said, trying a new vegetable or trying a new recipe. If you just did that on Thursdays, then maybe that carries into February and March, and April is just like Thursday is the new recipe day, and then how that would look. But thanks for that. That exactly what happens is we forget that this goal is going to take some time, and where are we going to put it in our schedule? And are we willing to remove something from our schedule or get up earlier, or to, what are we going to do, start or stop doing to make time for this goal? Sometimes we have to stop doing things, but sometimes we have to stop thinking things. Like when I had 3 kids in 3 years. And so I used to say, I will work out every day, but I will not sacrifice my sleep for working out. Right. And I eventually had to eat that statement and had to stop thinking that I needed to, and it worked for a while. Right. And I worked out like at 9 a.m. and the babies got up. But when they started going to school and things were happening, I now get up like in the 6 o'clock hour to work out. So I had to stop thinking that I would never wake up early to work out. Right, that would be torture and punishment in order. But for a time when I had 3 kids in 3 years, and I had 2 getting up at the same time in the middle of the night, right? I needed that thought served me, right? That I didn't have to get up early to work out.
Courtney raised her hand.
Courtney, let's hear it. What do you got for us? There we go. I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, I don't know how to get my video to start. It doesn't want me to. I just love the idea of double dipping. I've always maybe given that a negative connotation, like I'm overcommitting or I'm trying to multitask. And so I'm splitting my time and energy into two different things, but changing that mindset to make it be like a positive thing sounds really great to me, because I think I'm naturally kind of a multitasker, and kind of maybe giving myself some shame about that I shouldn't be multitasking. I should be focusing on one thing at a time. That batch working just doesn't work for me. And so I don't know, just that mindset of that it could be a positive thing that I like to multitask. I just liked that insight. So thanks for sharing that.
Yes, one of my favorite. I mean, just think like if you want to read more, and maybe you have a spirituality goal, and maybe you also have a goal like to learn more either in self-help or learn more about your business, that reading goal might be kind of a self-care type of goal for you. But if you're reading a book about, and then maybe a spiritual concept, or if you're reading a book about, a growth in, your business, you could be taking time for yourself, right? Taking time for a little bit of self-care, but also expanding one of those other priorities or those other goals. So I'm a huge fan of multitasking in that way, where you're killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah, love that.
Right. And for me, it makes it easier then to take that time to do something when I'm like, oh, this is going to be so efficient. Efficiency is my kind of love language. So if I'm going to go on a hike and connect with a friend, my friends know if they want to hang out with me, those local friends, we're walking. Like we go on walks, we go on hikes, we go on, like there's movement. So we're still connecting. I'm still making friends. We're still having some great chats, but I'm also getting some movement in. And so, or if I'm talking to a sister on a telephone, I might be cleaning a bathroom or folding laundry. Right. And so because those two things are very important to me, I want to be able to get, have my house in order, but also connect with a sister. So some of those multitasking are what like I said, I frame them as a double dipping. And if I get some double dipping in every day, it's like extra bonus points and I love it. Anybody else have anything to share? Any questions? Are you is your goal changed what you thought it was going to be from today? Are you thinking it might be a little different? It might be harder. Are you more nervous about it? Are you more excited about it? Right? Which one of these phases do you feel like is going to be the hardest for you to implement or to do? Like, did you already have some resistance as I was explaining it? Or you're like, oh, that makes sense. Or you're like, that's a lot of work, right? Just kind of notice yourself. And if you're already trying to give yourself what I call the yeah buts, yeah, that's a good idea, but, or if you're just kind of soaking this in and being like, I'm going to let it try. I'm going to kind of figure out how this could work for me. And these goals or this steps, like I want you guys to take them on and implement them on how they work for you, right? Because that's what we want. Just really take these ideas and make them your own. I love it. Casey's breaking hers down into quarterly goals. And lots of us can see that a little more clearly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. So I love that. And then Jade, I love a good reading goal, but never seem to stick with the actual reading during that time. Things come up, right? Which it is. It's using the block scheduling the best to make sure you stick with the time you set aside for something. So yeah, I teach a block scheduling. If you know what that is, that means something to you. But within my block scheduling, I also teach the concept of like results-based planning. So maybe it's just not sitting down and reading, but maybe it's reading for X amount of time. Maybe it's reading 2 books. Maybe it's reading 2 books a year, or 2 pages, right? Something like that. So every day you have a result of what you want to accomplish during that time. And then I also like to help my clients kind of do like a minimum and a maximum goal. So like minimum, I'm going to read 1 page a day. And then maximum, like on good days and everything's going well, I would love to read for 30 minutes. And so you kind of set that up. So then every day you're at least reading, like, I think even if we're super busy, we could probably get in 1 page. And sometimes when we get in that 1 page, we start to, or that one workout, I'm going to work out for 5 minutes or read 1 page, right? Or write 1 post on social media, whatever your goal is. And then sometimes as we do the one, it kind of snowballs and we see ourselves doing more and more.
Ariel raised her hand, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your beautiful name.
I like
no worries at all.
It is Ariel. So let's hear Ariel.
Hey, so my question is like I set goals and sometimes they're like not super realistic. Like they're just like way out there. Be like, I'm gonna earn $10,000 in my business this month, which just is not like at the stage I'm at. But that is like legit a goal that I would set. And so I have a hard time like reining it in, being like, maybe I can earn $1,000 this month. So how do I like, make them realistic? And then so then like what happens? We're like, oh well, didn't even come close, or like I'm like 3 days in and be like, I am not gonna hit $10,000. So forget that goal. And so I like have this like very much all or none, like way out there, or I just want like a normal medium goal.
I love that. So I didn't include this slide, but I would maybe ask you to look up like SMART goals. And it's just like you setting goals based on like the time frame that you have, right? And the goal that you want to accomplish. So for example, if you've never run a marathon you've never even ran a mile, but you set the goal to run a marathon like this month, right? That isn't really a measurable goal in the obtainable amount of time that you have, right? Not that I don't want to say when you said $10,000, you're like, what if you could, what if you believed it could happen, right? That is a cool thing to think, but you can also say, but what other restrictions do I have? Because like there is someone that probably could train for a half marathon or a marathon within a month, but like what other restrictions do they have? I have an 8 to 5 job. I have 4 kids. Not that we're using those as excuses, but we're just saying like, this is the amount of time I have, or this is what I'm willing to give to this goal. And so can I really achieve this goal in the amount of time that I have? Does that make sense a little bit? The first part. And then the second one is going back. If you were here, were you here at the very, very beginning?
Yes.
Okay. So going back to realizing that even if you set it for 10,000 and you're like, it's possible. I've never done it before. I'm not really at that income level, but like it has to happen one time, right? Like I had to have my first 10,000 a month once. And so is it possible? And if you can kind of believe it's possible, then that's where you stay in that goal model of where like, what else can I try? Right. And so if you still can believe it's possible, but you're like, I don't know how it's going to happen. That's when you start to create up new creative ideas. That's when you create new offers in your business. That's maybe when you create, a paid, I was going to say a freebie, but maybe you sell it for, really cheap. So it's not really a freebie. Like there are ways it could happen, even if you're not maybe quite quote unquote there yet in your business. We're not there until we are. Right. And so setting a goal, if you already know it's too big, then maybe pull it back, but ask yourself, what if it's not? Like, what if, do I have the time? Do I have the bandwidth? Do I have the capacity, right? With all the other roles you have going in your life, do you want to spend more time and actually get this goal? And if there's a reason why you want to hit $10,000 that feels really valid, right? It's not always about the money. It's like who you helped or what you created, right? To get that, you're going to have to create a new skill, or you're going to have to create a new offer, or you're going to have to, something's going to change. And so it's not always about the money, but it's like what happened, what you became, what you learned in setting that goal. So if you're not judging your $10,000 goal, no one else is, right? In a good way. So if you're just like, it could totally happen, because you keep setting it. We might fail a couple of months, but that's how we learn the skills to get us there.
Okay. I think that's where I fall short, because I like, man, I'll dream big. And it's because we like chat. I like dream big. And then it's like the first hurdle where I'm like, well, crap. And so I think be like, okay, like that was not, this isn't a failure. This is just, how am I going to get creative, or what am I going to try now? And I think I do well until that first hurdle, and I'm like,
yes. And that's when we know how much we believe in our goal. Because if it, let's just say it was 5,000, you've done that before, and you had your first hurdle, you're like, okay, that's kind of unfortunate. That's not awesome. But like, what can I do now? But when we really feel like our goal is out of this world, right? Or unachievable or not attainable, then that first hurdle is like, see, it's like we use it as evidence, right? There, I told you, I can't do it. So you're the best person to know what actually keeps you propelled, right? Is it a $5,000 goal? Is it a $10,000 goal? Because we can hit a 5,000 and do 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Or is that $10,000 goal actually more propelled? And like I said from the beginning, when we set the goal a little bit higher, that's when we have that river of misery where we're not reaching the goal, but that's when we learn new things. That's when we develop our confidence. That's when we try hard, like not harder, but try different in different ways. Right? So what are you hearing me say back to you?
Yeah, that it's not like it's not a bad goal and it's not a wrong goal, that I can shift it if I want, and that doesn't mean I failed. I can keep going, and maybe I'm going to get different results from it. But yeah, that it's not, I do have a lot of evidence in my head to be like, see, you're being unrealistic again. You're always so unrealistic, and so it'll happen one day, and then it's all good progress.
Right, because unrealistic goals, per se, that's what are where we eventually get that realism. Like, right, it actually happens, because all goals are technically unrealistic in the way that they haven't been achieved. So it's just how we want to look at it. It's possible. It's something I haven't done before. We want to say it's unrealistic, right? Like we just get to kind of have our own view about the goal that we're doing.
All right, I like that. Yeah, that helps shift my mindset a little bit.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to add, to share their thinking, a takeaway for them?
There are a couple messages in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. So Jaylene, like the minimum and maximum, me too, because then we always get to, not always, right, but we are setting ourselves up for that success to at least get a little bit of our goal in that day. Working out and nutrition. Yeah, great. That's how she can see it there a lot too. Again, a minimum and maximum too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love that, because lots of times you say, oh, I'm going to work out for 30 minutes every day. But you know what? Life happens sometimes. That could be our maximum. But minimum, I'm going to do 12 jumping jacks or something like that. Right. And then, like I said, lots of times that minimum will snowball and we'll actually do something longer. And sometimes it doesn't. But if you know ahead of time what your minimum and maximum are, then when you go to bed at night, you're like, yeah, I didn't necessarily want to only do 12 jumping jacks, but hey, I'm still showing that powerful commitment. I'm still showing that I'm committed to this goal. Even when I'm super busy, I can still get my 10 jumping jacks in or whatever it is. I just wanted to remind you guys that if for some reason you did not get the worksheets, there's a few people that signed up afterwards. So if you didn't get the worksheets that I keep referencing to, either put your name and email in the chat and I'll copy and paste it, or DM me on Instagram, or reply back to one of the emails, something, and I will make sure that you get those pages for you. Let's see. I just wanted to make sure make sure everyone has that. Putting your answers in chat. Okay, if you have any other questions for me, let me know. I just wanted to let you know, as being here on this call, I do, as I mentioned, work with women that are growing businesses. I help them balance their businesses and their motherhood in very strategic ways for them. I don't really have a one-size-fits-all schedule or one-size-fits-all approach to business and strategy. Like many business coaches say, they're like, do this, do this, do this, do this, but I'm very tailored to you, your needs, your desires, your wants, whether, maybe you have ADHD, or maybe you have this kid that's over here that's kind of hard. Like what are the obstacles and what are the strategies for you to be able to grow the business that you want? And so if you have not taken advantage, I do offer free consults for those of you that may think that coaching is something that you'd be interested in. So if you just want to just type in calendly.com/Siri, or you can go onto my website, my Instagram, and into my link in bio, and that's there, and sign up for a consult with me if you haven't had the chance to do that with me. And then, as promised, I mentioned that we would have a free goal setting opportunity for someone that showed up live. And so I just decided that I would do the 5th person on my screen. And so that happens to be Crystal. And I don't even know how to say your last name. Tell me how you say that.
Hey, is that me, Crystal?
Yes, it is you. Well, you're the 5th one.
Awesome. Hey, Siri, it's Crystal. I usually go by Crystal, the parenting coach, but
yes,
my last name's unpronounceable. It's Heitzma.
Okay. I knew you as Crystal and Hewer, but not your last name. So yes.
Awesome. I'm glad, because I was like here muted thinking, I don't know what goal I want to set. I don't know. So I do need help. Thank you.
Well, good. You're welcome. Thank you, all of you guys, for being here. And if you have any questions for me, and you just maybe they'll come as you fill out the worksheets, or maybe that you just didn't want to share them here, please come find me on Instagram. I love, more than anything, I love is to help empower women to be able to reach their goals, to step into the person that they want to be. I want to hear about your success as you're making and setting and reaching goals. So don't be afraid to, or don't be shy to just come on over to Instagram and tell me all about your good stuff. Before we end, do we have any questions? Any questions or anything?
There's another question in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. Let me pull it up. All right. From Cortez family, I tend to get excited about something and then get bored really quickly. I accomplish something and then move on to something else and let that go. Any advice? Yes. I love how you said I accomplish something and then I move on to something else. Lots of times when we kind of have this goal or we set our mind, we kind of feel like it's going to look or be a certain way. But as I mentioned earlier, we pivot, right? And sometimes that goal just no longer is serving us, right? My thought of like, I'll never get up early to work out. It maybe helped in a time when I had 3 kids in 3 years, but now that they're teenagers and I have a little more sleep and a little more control over my sleep, that doesn't really help me. So many of my clients, and as I mentioned, a lot of them have ADHD, and so they're always kicking themselves with like they never go through what they started or they never finished what they started. And so I really want you to take some time to celebrate the things that you said you did accomplish. Right. And then also when you said you got bored, maybe you are someone that could set smaller goals, like maybe monthly goals, so that you can accomplish that thing, set that goal, and then kind of move on. Another thing is just to really then check in and see where are you noticing that you end up getting bored and you want to move on. Lots of times we do the work for like about 80% and it's like following through on that last 20%. And sometimes that's a positive thing and sometimes that's a negative thing. For example, sometimes like we'll take a course and we did about 80% of the course, but maybe, and we didn't finish it, right? So then we feel like we're losers, right? We're like, oh, I never start everything. I never start everything that I never finish everything that I start. Or we think that we just give ourselves such a bad rap, but maybe that 80% of that course or the 80% of whatever it is that you did, that's what you needed to then move on to the next thing. So lots of times it's just really noticing, are you moving on and are you feeling really great and life is propelling and you're hitting other goals and you feel really good? Well, then it's just the shame of like, I start stuff and I never finish it. But a lot of times that's not really the case, especially for moms. We start stuff, we think it's a good idea, and then we have to pivot. Can't tell you how many tour charts, right? How many schedules, how many this, how many that I've tried with my kids. And after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, we have to pivot and try something new. And if I was always saying, well, I always come up with these really great ideas, but then I never follow through. Well, it's maybe because it wasn't working the way that I thought it would, right? Maybe it wasn't serving the needs of our family or their tour chart. So be willing to pivot and not always give ourselves such a bad, I guess, a bad rap that we never finish, because you did say that you're accomplishing stuff. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any more questions or any follow-ups to that. I kind of gave a few different ways to look at it to help you. And then Erin, welcome. How many goals do you try and set work? Okay, setting goals, a few smaller ones, manageable goals. Let me read that again. So I really want you to set the amount of goals that you feel like is doable for you and the goals that feel really exciting. Like there are days, right? That they say one goal at a time. But I even encourage maybe clients to have a little bit of a goal and a priority. So we have 5 priorities. And so maybe you have just like one big goal in your business, but one big goal in your, relationship with your kids. And when I say big, it just may be like, it doesn't have to be big, but like we're going to have 5 family dinners 3 times a week, or I'm going to put my kids to bed with a book 5 times a week. Right? That could be a big goal to help support relationship building with your kids, if that's like a priority that you have. So little tiny type goals like that. And then even in your business, we could have like, I want to make X amount of money, or I want to sell X amount of, things, or get X amount of people on my email list with a freebie. That could be a big goal for the month. And then like the little goals could be like showing up on social media to tell people about the thing that you want to promote. Right. So notice for you, if you are a big goal setter and that big goal, and you can kind of figure out the pieces in between and the objectives and the obstacles and strategies, and that motivates you, then just maybe set one big goal and kind of break that down into chunks through the planning. If you're one of a person that big goal, you maybe give yourself what Cortez family was saying, like they feel like they never start or finish what they started, then maybe set little tiny goals, and you can say, I'm going to do these things to hopefully support this big goal, but I'm just going to work on these little tiny things first. And then over the year's time, what happens is we look back and see our progress on those goals and see that we usually hit one of the bigger goals that we had in mind. So I know that was probably wishy-washy, but it's kind of like check in with you and see what propels you and what excites you about goals. All right, any other questions? All right. Well, again, guys, this has been so fun. I really do want to help you set powerful goals, goals that you fall in love with. So do not be shy. Please come visit me on Instagram or ask any questions, because that's what I'm here for. And again, if you did not get these worksheets for whatever reason, also come to Instagram or leave your name below and I will make sure that you have it. I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your holiday vacation and a happy new year, and the happy goal setting, goals that you love and goals that you want to fall in love with. Those are the goals I want you to be setting. We'll see you guys. Thank you.